What's up, everybody? Welcome to Group Chat Football Live. My name is Danny Enriquez. I am here with the Fink himself, Clay Fink. We're here to break down some of the latest portal acquisitions. Not quite yet, but we're getting there. We're kind of like circling, identifying potential names in the portal, high school recruiting, coaching changes, just rising stars at this point in the football season. That's what we do here on Group Chat Sports. Like to tell you what's happening, maybe a little bit before it happens, just so when portal season comes and we're pumping out videos multiple times a day, you're ready and you know some of the players. And nobody better identifying up and coming players than the man himself, Clay Fink. Clay, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Another solid weekend of football. UK fan. We beat an FCS team. I'll take it. You never know. I mean, Stoops hasn't lost to an FCS team, but he can never rule it out with Kentucky football. Florida State, a student at Florida State, so it's always good to see him win. But overall, just a good weekend of football. Don't have to review any negative games or anything, and the fans seem to be in good spirits for the teams I'm most tuned into, and I'm excited to talk about the guys that we have on our list today.
Yeah, Cutter Boley, man, stud. You highlighted him on a show really a few weeks ago, and he's only been on the upswing since. And obviously not the same kind of opponent with what you guys play Western
Tennessee Tech.
Tennessee
They are
Tech.
10-0 in the FCS, though,
There you go.
for
It's
what it's worth.
some highlight reel runs from your man Boley, man. He was balling. So no, excited to watch him as this thing moves along. But first, let's stay in the SEC and talk about somebody that I think might be the most underrated back in the country. He's not an unknown by any means, but we talk about Ahmad Hardy, who in some respects replaced him. We've talked about other backs, Jeremiah Love, of course. I'm not sure anybody means more to their team than this guy right here in Kewan Lacy.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's unfortunate because I really was starting to maybe get behind the agenda of Kewan Lacy. Is this the best running back in the SEC up until this week? And I'm a big Ahmad Hardy guy for Missouri, which is the team that Lacy signed with out of high school, spent his freshman year with last year, didn't really play much. Missouri brings in his replacement. Unfortunately, Kewan Lacy had his best game of the year in the same week that Ahmad Hardy ran for 300 yards for Missouri. So he's probably not the best running back in the SEC, but he's probably second. And I would definitely agree that he's the most underrated back in the country. I mean, just a very shockingly complete back. You look at this guy, it's hard to believe that he's only 5'11". The way he runs, and I'm sure we'll watch some of his high school stuff, but you can just tell he looks almost like a wide receiver who's just like getting some yards after catch, long strides. He was a former track guy, ran a 10.79 and a 10.81, both as a junior in the 100-meter, top 200 recruit, top 15 running back. And he went to Missouri as a freshman. Really didn't see the field a whole lot, just 113 total yards in 6 games. Heads over to Ole Miss, and he has become a force. I mean, probably the engine of that offense, especially with Trinidad Chambliss struggling a little bit down the stretch these past few weeks, but super fun player to watch.
Yeah, and in the red zone, you see the 19 touchdowns. It feels like that's really where he's been devastating. Florida, I mean, you kind of knew when he was getting the ball, it was going to be lights out. Although Florida's defense did fight as strong as they possibly could. Yeah,
Right.
Lacy out of Dallas, he was a rising player. I remember him when he was a senior in high school. He was a guy that, because of the track numbers and some of the highlights, just some of the physical characteristics, his name was generating steam. You have him here as the number 15 running back where it ended. I don't think it started there. I think it was a process with him climbing up the ranks, and then you go to Missouri, which seemed like a great fit for him. Very unusual that he leaves. They portal out his replacement, and both guys are elite at the SEC level. It's interesting kind of trade. I'm sure both schools are happy, but Ole Miss big beneficiary. And it's one thing Ole Miss has done, I think, that deserves more credit is, yes, they got the Walter Nolans of the world that everybody was trying to get a Walter Nolan, but their ability to evaluate in the portal, obviously Trinidad Chambliss probably top of the list playing D2 ball for Ferris State, but a Kewan Lacy who was not necessarily projected to be what he was Trey Harris, was I'm struggling with the corner that plays for the Commanders, uh,
Oh my gosh, what is
who
this?
he was not himself the biggest name uh, corner in the portal. Alabama transfer, talented guy, but they ended up bringing him over and allowing
Trey
his
Amos. Trey Amos.
yeah, Amos. So he was someone who developed at Ole Miss. So if they're not doing it in high school recruiting, they're almost doing a little bit of a version of high school recruiting in college, where they are bringing these players in that are unrealized talents and then allowing them to become what you maybe thought they would be out of high school.
Yeah, no, you were talking about, I mean, and I think this is just props to Drink out of Eli Drinkwitz for Missouri. Obviously, the recruiting rankings recognize this, but I assume he had to be in a little bit early on this guy if he was able to land him. Just looking at the offer list that he got throughout his senior season of high school football, just everybody seemed to realize. And he had 1,300 yards on 10 yards a carry as a sophomore, but on the same amount of carries, basically his junior year, only 730 yards. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know if he was hurt. I don't know if that was I don't know how many games he played. But then he comes back his senior year, 1,500 rushing yards, 19 rushing touchdowns, 6.8 yards per carry, 480 receiving yards in his final 2 years in high school. And I think this guy, I hate to say it for like a top 200 recruit, but it kind of feels like this guy went under the radar just because he blew up so late.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I mean, the speed is the speed, right? When you're running 10.79, you're over 200 pounds. I think that just on its own is going to get you some helium as a prospect. But he runs kind of different. I mean, you pointed out in some of your pre-show comments that it's almost like a wide receiver, high cut, not necessarily your classic running back, like a Quinshon Judkins, for example, is like your quintessential running back, whereas Lacy, a different animal. Looking at the running back landscape, Jeremiah Love, you obviously expect him to move on to the draft. Ahmad Hardy, he's going to be a name that I think will factor in. Your boy from North Texas. I know you're ready to talk about him wherever every chance he gets. We'll see where Eric Morris goes. I think he's kind of like the key guy in the portal process. Depending if he takes a job, then maybe he can take Hawkins and his quarterback Mestamaker, two NFL prospects out of the backfield there with him. But in terms of next year stars, guys that are not draft eligible, guys that I think are going to be faces of college football, Kewan Lacy, he could be right there in the mix when you come back to school after running for 20 plus touchdowns in the SEC.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's hard to believe that the SEC has. I don't know if they're going to have any high end draft picks at running back this year, but they have an argument. And Jeremiah Love is Jeremiah Love, but put Jeremiah Love aside. They have an argument for the two best running backs in America, not named Jeremiah Love, and neither of them are draft eligible between Ahmad Hardy and Kewan Lacy. So it can be really awesome. You throw guys like Isaac Brown in that mix, it could be a really fun class again next year. I put this on our notes. I got to mention it. One of my favorite things that I learned about Kewan Lacy while researching him, and this is just such a Lane Kiffin player type of thing to do, is his celebration every time he scores is he's like whipping a belt, BTA. We know what that means. And he signed an NIL deal that benefits the Ole Miss NIL collective a couple of weeks ago with like an Ole Miss leather embroidered belt. So I like it. I like the innovation there, getting ahead of the game, getting some NIL deals out of it. But he seems like a character just off the many touchdown celebrations we've been able to see.
Yeah.
You lead the country in touchdowns, you get a lot of chances.
A lot of practice for sure. And he really is. I mean, Trinidad Chambliss has been kind of the story of the Ole Miss season, but I think you could also have success with Austin Simmons in this passing game. Not to downplay what Chambliss has done, just these are two very good quarterbacks in a quarterback friendly system. I think if you remove Kewan Lacy from this team, it's a whole different team. He's the best back they've had, certainly since Judkins, but they've been making do, I think, aside from Judkins, and Lacy gives him someone that's a true workhorse after Ohio State stole their last workhorse away. So I know, shout out to Kewan Lacy. We'll keep watching his career as he progresses into maybe the best back in the country. It's going to be an interesting race to replace Jeremiah Love. And look, maybe I'm sure Kewan Lacy is not taking any backseat to Love, not as explosive, but certainly somebody who is going to be right in the thick of the playoff race and have a chance to make his name on the college football playoff stage.